Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for all things Liverpool. Today, we've got huge updates. Arne Slot breaking silence on Marc Guehi's transfer links, Florian Wirtz revealing his true feelings on life at Anfield, and Oliver Glasner addressing Liverpool's January interest, plus reactions to Giovanni Leoni's devastating injury blow, and a heartfelt message from Cody Gakpo you won't want to miss. Stick around because this is one roller coaster of Reds news. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window. Arne Slot addresses Marc Guehi Liverpool transfer question after Giovanni Leoni injury. Arne Slot on his plans for Liverpool's centre-back department after the ACL injury to Giovanni Leoni on Tuesday night. Arne Slot says, Giovanni Leoni's season-ending injury won't force Liverpool to revisit their interest in Crystal Palace captain Marc Guehi in January. The Reds missed out on a 35 million deal for the England international on transfer deadline day. The Eagles were unable to recruit a replacement, and with Guehi's contract up next summer, the Premier League champions are expected to move when he becomes a free agent. Asked if the anterior cruciate ligament tear for Leone, sustained in Tuesday night's Carabao Cup win over Southampton, changes the thinking internally, Slot said, "That all depends on whether we get more injuries, yes or no. And if there's a chance in the market, all the answers I always give. But I would not prefer to go to 24-25 players. Also, if it is ever a situation where I lead a team that has 4 or 5 injuries throughout the whole season, it might be a bit smarter to go to 24-25. But recent history showed that we have a good record until now. We don't have 5 or 6 injuries at the same time throughout the whole season. If that would be the situation, then we would end up with 15-16 players, and that would normally be difficult. So it's a choice I like to make, but I think it is also a financial choice that we as a club have to make. If we want to keep these top players, we cannot have 24-25 of them. It's also a choice we make. I know a lot is being said about our squad, but if people would start to look at it in the way they should, you'd say we've got 20-21 players where some other teams we are in competition with are on 24-25-26, but that's the choice we make because I believe that every player needs to have perspective of development or playing time. If I have to disappoint 4 or 5 players, I believe that is not the right energy that you want to have in the building. On the other hand, that means if you get 1 injury, you don't have 2 replacements anymore. So you don't have 2 players for every position anymore. That's then the risk you take. But that's also why we try to bring in versatile players like Florian Wirtz, who can play left, can play as a 10, can play as an 8. Dominic Szoboszlai can play every position, I think. That is the way we do it, and it is also why we can maybe spend a bit more on 1 player instead of bringing 3 in. And that is maybe the difference between the clubs. The Liverpool boss added, I would like to say so, but I think it takes a longer term to prove this good injury record. We, as with any other team in the league, by the way, try to have a certain way of working where you prevent as many injuries as you can. But normally it is very difficult to prevent an ACL. But muscle injuries are maybe a bit better. There's a better chance of preventing a muscle injury, unless you only have 14 players available and you have to overload them. If you look at Alexander Isak now, we are trying to make the best possible program and also to stick to that program. I might be tempted once in a while, maybe even tomorrow, to keep him on the pitch for 90 minutes. But then, I always try to look at the long term and not at the short term with these issues. Florian Wirtz shares true feelings on Liverpool. Career so far as Private Arne Slot talks. Detailed Florian Wirtz found himself on the bench for Liverpool's win over Everton at Anfield last weekend. Florian Wirtz has revealed why Arne Slot benched him for last weekend's Merseyside derby win over Everton as he offered an honest assessment of his start at Liverpool. The Reds started the summer transfer window with a statement of intent by securing the services of the 22-year-old for a then-British record, who under a sensation, although he has helped Liverpool start the season perfectly. The German international is yet to contribute a goal or an assist in the Premier League. He also found himself on the bench for last weekend's 2-1 win over Everton, and while he accepted the decision made by Arne Slot, he also believes that improving his fitness levels will see him show his best form for Liverpool. It could be that I'm trying to pass the ball faster, he told Sky Germany. I recently talked to the coach about it, and he suggested why I might not be able to get into the situations I normally get into. That is, that I'm making the game fast with a dribble or a pass. He said it could be because we press a lot and I run a lot. For example, the running stats. I'm always at the top there because I try to push hard and do what the coach asks. I need a lot of strength and energy for that. When I have the ball, I might be lacking a little bit. That it will simply come step by step as I play more games, get fitter, be able to do things more easily, and then, when I have the ball, be fit enough and recovered enough to push. After the Champions League game, he told me I wouldn't start in the league because he wanted to control the load a bit and see which game I could play better in. He decided on the Champions League game that I would start there and then sit on the bench in the league. I fully understood that. I was able to recover a bit and didn't have to exert myself as much. Wirtz, who scored 57 goals and recorded 62 assists in 197 appearances for Bayer Leverkusen, now shares a dressing room at Anfield with an array of talent, but one of his new teammates has really stood out. He said, "I loved playing for Leverkusen. I love the fans, the club. When you're in the stadium in Liverpool, you realize this is just a little bit above and beyond. It's impressive when You'll Never Walk Alone is played at Anfield. It does something to you when so many people sing that song. It definitely gets under your skin. Without wanting to disparage anyone, it's simply a step up. Everyone has to fight for their place here and give it their all to be better than their opponents. I have to work just as hard as everyone else to have a starting place, or to be one of the best. You can see that there are several very, very good players in every position here. The one who's playing very, very well at the moment is Ryan Gravenberch. He's standing out at the moment. Marc Guehi transfer latest as Oliver Glasner addresses Liverpool interest. I know in January, Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner was asked about Marc Guehi's future ahead of facing Liverpool after the England international saw a move to Anfield collapse on transfer deadline. Oliver Glasner has addressed Marc Guehi's future ahead of Crystal Palace's clash with Liverpool, admitting he is tired of the ongoing transfer saga. The Reds agreed a $35 million deal for the England international last month, only for the Eagles to pull the plug on deadline day after failing to sign a replacement. Guehi remains out of contract at the end of the season and is expected to depart on a free transfer. Liverpool are still interested in the 25-year-old, but a mid-season move for the defender had previously been considered unlikely given his looming Bosman status. It remains to be seen if such a stance will be tested after Giovanni Leoni suffered an ACL injury on his Reds debut. Transfer speculation surrounding Guehi continues regardless. But Glasner is not concerned as he revealed he had held talks with his captain ahead of facing the club he very nearly joined last month. But while conceding Guehi had been disappointed to see the move collapse, the Palace boss shut down questions about the player's future beyond the end of the season, as he also made an admission about the January transfer window. "I have no concerns at all about Guehi," he said at his pre-match press conference. "I'm completely convinced, and I mention this quite often, as long as Marc is playing for Crystal Palace, he will be playing with 100%. This is what I expect tomorrow. I'm really convinced that he will show this again. He's an amazing player, he's in amazing shape, so I expect a great game from him. Of course, I had a conversation with Marc, but I think you will expect it to maybe have been more or longer. It was really a very short conversation because it was easy. We talked before, we talked at the end of last season, we talked in off-season, we talked in the preseason, and of course we talked after the transfer window closed, but it was a 5-minute conversation. On the other side, I'm really wondering why it's so outstanding if you stick to an agreement. It also shows you maybe what kind of times we are living in. If you sign a contract, let's say the normal thing is you stick to your contract. So we are praised for doing what we have to do? I think it's more the opposite. We should blame people who don't stick to their agreement." Of course, he was a little bit disappointed at the beginning, but he said, "No, it's fine. I like being here. I like the team. I like the staff. I like Crystal Palace. I'm a South London boy. It's all good. I will give my best." And this is exactly what I knew would happen. He continued, "Again, his collapsed move to Liverpool is gone. The window is closed, fortunately, so he's completely focused on Crystal Palace, on his performance and our performance, and like always, it's good to have him as a captain. I'm not talking about transfer discussions. We had this for 3 or 4 months, and it really made me tired. I don't want to talk about it. I know in January it will be again for 1 month. Even when I think about it, it makes me tired. Giovanni Leoni knows exactly which Liverpool players to seek after devastating injury blow. The teenager will sadly not feature again this season for the Reds following his horrendous ACL tear in midweek. And it's something that 2 of his Liverpool teammates can relate to Giovanni. Leone's injury has dealt Liverpool a devastating blow in what has otherwise been a blistering start to the season until the Italian defender lay prone. On the Anfield touchline, little of real significance had gone wrong for the Reds thus far in 2025-26, but Arne Slot confirmed ahead of this weekend's trip to Crystal Palace that Leone won't be available again this season due to a torn ACL, leaving Liverpool with a dearth of center-back options going forward. But the human element shouldn't be overlooked. That an 18-year-old talent, seemingly with the world at his feet, sustained the serious injury on his Liverpool debut is gut-wrenching. That he performed so well in the match compounds matters. He looked at ease against Southampton. His performance had a commanding presence, and the teenager showcased the physical presence, agility, composure, and defensive nous that convinced Liverpool to part with an initial $26 million, 35 matters, for a player who made just 17 top-flight league appearances. Now, the most juvenile and inexperienced of the club's summer signings has been dealt a catastrophic blow. Just as he begins acclimating to his new environment, Leone has been stripped of his very purpose in moving to Liverpool. Slot said Leone is unlikely to return for around 12 months. In reality, the prodigious talent's development could be stalled for 2 full seasons. Yet, it does not mean he can't emerge stronger from the experience and fulfill the potential he so clearly possesses. Plenty have suffered ACL injuries in the past and managed to fully recover. In fact, that applies to 2 of Leone's new teammates. Returning at the start of the following season, Van Dijk played 51 games and was named in the PFA Premier League Team of the Year and the FIF Pro World Effin. At 34, he remains the Globe's preeminent center-back. Perhaps even more relatable is Joe Gomez. He knows better than most about recovering from setbacks and will sympathize with Leone, given that he too suffered an ACL tear as an 18-year-old during his first few months at Liverpool. Gomez has gone on to win every trophy imaginable and is closing in on 250 Liverpool appearances despite his catalog of injury woes. That definitely helps, and we have some examples. With that from Virgil and Joe, said Slot on Friday. There are a lot of examples all around the world. The positive thing is he is still 18, so he still has a lot of time to go when you get an injury like that. The most important is the surgeon who is going to do the surgery and the recovery and rehab. It is always nice if you can do this in a surrounding or setting with players who have lived through this. They can give you the right energy in certain moments. Our players already showed a lot of compassion towards him, and they will not stop doing that over the upcoming year. Cody Gakpo delivers heartfelt message after major Liverpool injury, blow Liverpool. Star Cody Gakpo sent Giovanni Leoni a touching message as he faces up to a year on the sidelines. Following an ACL injury in this week's Carabao Cup win over Southampton, Cody Gakpo has delivered a touching message to Liverpool teammate Giovanni Leoni following the teenager's devastating ACL injury blow. The Italian starlet shone on his Reds debut against Southampton in midweek before suffering the cruel setback after an awkward landing late in the second period. After being carried off on a stretcher, it was subsequently confirmed he had sustained an ACL injury, with Arne Slot revealing at Friday's pre-match briefing that the young center-back now faces up to 12 months out of action. Leone posted on social media on Thursday to express gratitude to the Liverpool faithful for their reaction to his injury news, whilst several teammates also rallied around the defender. The Reds resume their campaign on Saturday afternoon when they make the trip to Crystal Palace. And looking ahead to the fixture, Gakpo explained how the Liverpool dressing room plans to rally round Leone during his extended rehabilitation period. It's always sad to see that something like that happens, he said. We will try to be there for him as much as we can and to help him through this difficult period. Leone was amongst 10 fresh arrivals at Liverpool this summer as the Reds embarked on a $450 million transfer blitz. smashing the British transfer record on 2 occasions. To secure Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak, the Sweden international got off the mark for the club in their previous outing against Southampton. Having witnessed Isak consistently trouble Liverpool in previous encounters whilst representing former club Newcastle United, Gakpo is thrilled to now have the frontman as an ally. He also made a bold forecast about the Reds' record signing after his first goal for the club. That's obviously massive for him, as well as for us, Gakpo shared with the club website. I think everybody knows how good he can be. We saw him in the Newcastle team scoring a lot of goals, and hopefully he can do that for us as well. A very good player on the ball, off the ball. I'm very happy that he's here.